I'm finally back, and I miss using that intro. Okay, now I call this deck, the status core. This relies on poison and lock statuses. Although, the number of cards that can actually produce those status is actually the bare minimum, I still think that it's enough to satisfy Vincent van Meulenhem's and Van Hemar's respective abilities, especially with the imposter ability which helps Van Hemar. I think poison is a high risk, high reward archetype, while locks have low rewards, so it's the worst, but because of how viable it is, right now, I'm starting to like it, just as much as I enjoyed old beta locks.
Few poachers dare venture into the...
Imagine if Gwent was this fast-paced. It really looks like a war.
Target acquired. The sky'll burn with the...
The city is ravaged by rot.
Feeling a bit peckish. Left, right.
See, even without poison and lock, other statuses prevent Vincent from becoming a dud.
Meat is best served bloody, eating in its chest.
To arms!
Hairslip on my chin. Again and again.
Nilfgaard.
My math was actually slow here, and I thought that it would end on a draw.
Onward! To be showered with imperial gold!
I so dislike being disturbed. Who said anything about killing? I agree, but still.
Enjoy it whilst you can.
Oh, I am.
Congratulations. A move well made.
Imposter was so cool. It's not the biggest finisher, but the way it works is so satisfying. Next is a variation made from the status core, and this one was made with tactical decision. Due to the extra provisions, and the lack of locking any unit at will, Van Hemar needed to go. He was replaced with Swayers, which is actually still a good card to have around. Magic Lamp is just so good of an addition. It's too frustrating when your tall cards get removed. That's why having those 5 points separate is such a good advantage.
Mashed potato. Here's our chance. 101, 100 and...
Eyes closed, mouth.
Go on then! Up to it, knaves!
Utter your wish, and I shall make it so. As good as dead. Hairslip on my chain.
I think having morale in this deck is just too much. You see, the reason why poison is a high-risk archetype, is that if you lacked, or have too much of it, there will be one useless poison status at the end of the round. I only use the bare minimum because that's actually all you need to win the game. It's the same logic as having 13 units in the deck, so that tutoring cards becomes easier.
It's morning song. Please delight in song and wine.
Beaters, forward! Let the hunt begin. Feeling a bit peckish.
I shall slug them in...
Hairslip on my chain.
Let their blood break their bones and spirit!
Drinking can be hazardous to your health. feeling a bit fetish?
The continent will quake!
Oh, gentlemen have their vices.
See, my opponent had either too much or too little. Control might be old school, but it's still viable. Next is the strategic withdrawal variation. This is unfortunately just the clunky version of Imposter. Although, it's much more flexible to use compared to relying on Van Hemar, but the point in using this ability, in a deck with poison, is that you can use a poison-giving unit twice, which kills any unit immediately. If your opponent has multiple units with statuses, then Vincent can plow them to their graves.
Very good.
True pleasures come.
I wonder what my sneakers will future this time. Drinking can be hazardous to your health. Stay Canadian, mein Vater.
Due to the difficulty in filling up the provisions to the brim, I could only use these not so strong, but somehow strong enough when together witchers.
Arsenic on my shirt. Drinking can be hazardous to your health. As good as dead.
And here is where my bluff, of me wanting to summon a big unit, ends. I ran out of all options, so this had to be done, although, I still recommend for anyone to use double poison as the last resort.
With the lights.
Behold Nilfgaard's iron might!
Your deepest, darkest dreams, I can make them real.
Next, let's move on to my favorite archetype, which is control. To snuff the light out of your enemies, as quick as possible, is much easier than holding them captive, with poison and locks, in the hopes that purify and consume doesn't exist. This is pretty much an old deck, with assimilate and tactics working together, but I'm glad that it still works. With lockdown as the leader ability, your opponent becomes helpless and can't retaliate.
Go! Onward, we ride!
What is...
Go on, Enkezer!
I shan't pay. I cannot pay.
Live and die for the Emperor!
See,
Semper
poison's not going to help against Semper Fi, times 5, and locking them is asking for purifying trouble.
Behold Nilfgaard's iron might! Death to the enemy!
Poker's red hot now.
Come on, stalkers! We ride!
This is the Assimilate variation. The difference here is that you have Yennefer's Invocation, which helps eliminate problematic enemy units. Unlike Lockdown, Double Cross is super risky to use, but the high provision bonus helps in making this deck appealing. Although, I would have preferred if the bonus had a +1.
Up to it, knaves!
This was a mean surprise, if ever I saw one. Weather cards were only great when the White Frost was actually worth carrying. Now, even Ragnarok looks weak.
Live and die for the Emperor!
See, for 6 props you get a big swing.
As good as dead, that lot.
There's order! And out speed!
What do you need?
Although, at times, the highest of risks really does come with hefty rewards.
I hate bones.
Next is the Imperial Formation variation. This might be the least favorite among all the Nilfgaard decks in this video, but it's still a solid one, despite not having Affen. What I like about this, however, is that it becomes easier for Helgi and Skullen to survive. Even Viggo's brigade gets to have a chance with Bream's boost.
Topaz, ruby, sapphire, any ye desire!
The beauty of control is that you have the least problems possible. Well, Skullich's graveyard would beg to differ, but that faction's retaliation is manageable.
Best kept on a short lead.
Follow me this way.
Go on, Enkazer! Time to die! Ekain en me!
Let us sing the song.
What do you need?
Yes, Dwan.
Damn. I know it's impossible for Gwen to be this fast, but it just looks so epic. Of course, I'm a slow thinker as well, so I wouldn't even survive the season of the dragon. In the end, I can only dream.
Time to die!
My heart holds no forgiveness for traitors.
Jesus Christ. Vernaciel. What the actual? Last but not the least is the Seas variation. This one is probably the oldest deck, minus Damien. Skullen is already hard to maintain, so reducing the burden was for the best. Seas mixed with tactics and assimilate is still very strong despite of the status archetype being all the rage. Of course Scoia'tael looks epic right now, but if you play your cards right you can easily go toe-to-toe against tier 1.
the ground!
お前はもう死んでいる。何？
Wrong. Grave error.
Come on, stalkers! We ride!
I still can't get over those decoupling jokes. Like hey, it's still lore friendly for Eridan to poop out Arachas, so don't worry about it, lore friendly my ass. I love it, not hating on it, and it was understandable because of the pressure and effort of making leaders and factions. As much as we want to demand for quality, if quality takes a year or two to make, then the game might actually die. Like Fortnite changed the standards of what an update or a patch is. Whether it's impressive or not, that game proved to be profitable to this day. Well, that was fun. I missed playing Gwent. I was planning to return after replaying the Witcher series, but the cook made increase the difficulty of life to death march levels of inconvenience. Things might not be the best right now, but don't ever lose hope, especially when we can still say that today is a good day for gaming. If you want to import those decks in your account, links and timestamps are in the description. Thanks for watching.